Hey, I'm Colton Herta, driver of the number 26 Gamebridge Honda for Andretti Global, and today I'm going to take you for a couple laps around Nashville Superspeedway. Nashville is obviously pretty important to me because it was my first oval win. Happened at the end of the year, helped me secure second in the championship, which was also big for us, the team. It's an interesting track. Obviously, an oval made out of concrete is not a thing you see every day. To my knowledge, I can only think of Nashville and Dover in the US, so it makes for a pretty particular feel around the track. A little bit more sliding and a little bit less grip overall, which makes for a pretty interesting race as we saw. So Nashville Superspeedway is a superspeedway, an oval that is ideally flat if the car is set up right in qualifying. And so when you get to tracks like that are flat in qualifying, what you start to do is you take as much downforce out of the car as possible, and then once it's stable enough to be just flat or a little bit lift, you start working on line. For a place like this, you can enter a little bit lower or exit a little bit lower to cut some of the track distance out. That'll improve lap time, and it's a track that wants a little bit of a different balance on each end of the track. There's a lot more banking through 3 and 4 than 1 and 2, so the car feels a lot nicer through 3 and 4, but we have that kind of dreaded bump in 3 and 4 that we saw this year and talked about a lot. So it is an interesting track to drive. All right, so turn 1, you're thinking about where is, hold on. All right, turn 3 and 4. All right, turn 3 and 4 is quite a narrow entry. You want to get into that banking as soon as possible. You have the bump there in the middle of the corner, which kind of lifts the weight off the car. So if you're not set up right early in the corner, you're going to pay for it later with that bump. And it's a place where you can kind of set up the pass. A lot of the passes kind of happened out of 1 and 2 because of that dog leg that you have in the front straight. It kind of hinders the passing that you can do. So you really want to set it up out of 3 and 4 and then go into 1 and 2. Try to lift off the throttle a little bit early because you're going to be passing ideally on the exit of the corner. So you want to get to throttle nice and early. And in turn, that should give you a great run coming out of the corner. 1 and 2 is a lot easier to run a little bit higher. And as the race goes on and the marbles start to build, if we haven't had a yellow in a while, it kind of turns into a 1-lane track. But early on, you can run a little bit higher or a little bit lower than guys. And so that kind of opens up the passability of the track and can give you a little bit more of an option. So we talked about how to pass, but we can talk about now how you can mess it up. Charging into the corner on the ovals when you're trying to overtake is a surefire way to mess it up. You know, that's one of the reasons why I was able to pass by Pato at the end. He had traffic in front of him, and like what I talked about, I had that nice early lift, and I was able to get on throttle super early and keep it down low. We saw the different lines through 1 and 2 and how he was kind of lifting, having to go high, and I was able to keep it low, and that was kind of the difference. So anytime you're kind of charging into the corner in 1 and 2, it'll hurt you. 3 and 4, because of the banking being a little bit higher, there's a little bit more overall grip, so you're able to charge in a little bit more and stay up underneath guys. But 1 and 2 is definitely one of those corners where it's kind of similar to Indy, how you drive it. You want a nice early lift, you want to be able to get on throttle nice and early and not get that big kind of understeer washout. So the bump here is actually really nice. Like, you barely feel it. In the car, it feels like a world ender. It feels like it can just put the car straight into the wall every time, which isn't a great feeling, but you get used to it after a while. And it's something that kind of, you're gonna shift the car up about probably half a car length. When you run over it, it just kind of picks the car up and shifts it up the track. So it's something to be cognitive of when you're running side by side with guys, because it can catch you out and push you up into them. When you run a little bit higher, I feel like the bump is a little bit better. We'll try it on the sim and see if that's the case. It is a little bit better. And then I crash. But But yeah, if you run a little bit higher, so that it's something to be cognizant of, because if you're running side by side, you can just kind of push yourself up into the guy up above you. So that's why I kind of preferred, when I was running side by side here, to be on the outside if the kind of track permitted it. And those were a few laps around Nashville Superspeedway. Thanks for riding along.